Hey guys, welcome back to some more reviews, and today I get to conclude the Hostel franchise with my review for Hostel Part 3. Now this is a sequel, direct-to-video, directed by Scott Spiegel, who has directed From Dusk Till Dawn 2 and Intruder. And those are two movies. Well, one of them I've heard about. I've heard about Intruder, but I haven't seen it yet. And I'm a really big fan of From Dusk Till Dawn Part 2, Texas Blood Money. I did a review for it. Big fan of it. And this is another one of his good movies. I really enjoy this movie. Now, Hostel Part 3 does get a lot of negative reviews because it's direct-to-video. I believe Eli Roth and Quentin Tarantino, they had nothing to do with the movie. I believe this is the first movie that they didn't have anything to do with it. But you know, I enjoy it because it's going in a different way, and it's not trying to copy the original Hostel, and it was doing its own thing, and it wasn't boring. It was fast-paced, only 88 minutes long, and in my opinion, it was just a much better sequel than Part 2. It gets a 4.6 on IMDb, and it was released in 2011. And Hostel Part 3, like I said, it does things a little bit better than Hostel Part 2. Actually, a lot better than Hostel Part 2, because Hostel Part 2, I could say it all again, but I've done a review for it, so if you guys want to see my in-depth thoughts, go check out my review for Hostel Part 2. But the main problem with that movie is it copied the original a lot. It was a very similar movie to the original. And if it didn't, it was just explaining what made the first movie suspenseful. But if you guys want to hear a more in-depth review, just go check out that review. But my main thoughts on it, my main problems with it is that it freaking copied the original, and it kept doing this behind the scenes, or you know, how things worked, and explained whatever made the first movie mysterious. It explained it, so it wasn't mysterious anymore. But this movie doesn't do that. I mean, it does explain a little bit of how this new hostel works. Because it's in Las Vegas, which I think that's a fun idea. Take it and put it in a different location, and it gives it a good vibe to it, a good fun vibe. And you've got pretty decent acting and pretty decent characters. They're a little bit they're better than Hostel Part 2's characters. They're not as annoying. There's like one dude I thought was freaking annoying, and it was the guy who pretty much plays the jerk. Skylar Stone, who plays Mike Malloy, yeah, his character was kind of annoying. He talking about how his wife is fat, and how he just came because he wanted to have sex and get laid in Vegas, and you know, he's pretty much being a jerk to his friend, jerk to all of his friends, and he's pretty much a jerk, and he's really annoying because he'll like say these freaking annoying lines, and it's just, his character was kind of annoying. It was just, I get it, maybe it's because it's supposed to be, but it was still an annoying character altogether. I get it, and maybe that's how it was meant to be, but still. That was probably the only character I have a problem with. The rest of them are pretty good. Carter, Scott, Kendra, I believe Justin, got to play Justin, the crippled guy. And the rest of the characters did well. It was just that one character. And even the bad guys are a lot memorable than Hostel Part 2's bad guys. I mean, you got this guy who is played by, try to see who it is. I think is it Travis? I don't know if it was Travis. I think that's the dude. I think it's the dude who, I can't remember if that's him or not, but I think it's this dude. Excuse me, guys. I don't know if it's this dude, but there's this character. I think it's Travis, played Chris Coy, and pretty much. Before I spoil that though, because this movie does have another good thing about it, is that it does switch the formula around a little bit. Hostel Part 2 was sort of the point where you could just tell what was going to happen, because you had these suspicious characters, and they were just way too over suspicious, that you just knew they were bad guys, and then it turned out to be bad guys. Well, this movie kind of flipped it around. It was sort of like they were bad guys, but you didn't know they were bad guys. You know, it flipped it around, made it different, made it unexpected, surprising, and it definitely made it a lot different than the other movies, because you didn't know who was the bad guy. You don't know who the good guys and bad guys were, because pretty much you had to begin this movie where the character Travis plays. He's basically, you think he's an American kid, and he's in this hotel, and he's talking about how he's not from here, and he's talking about how it's his first time visiting there, and you think these people are gonna like kidnap him and stuff like that, and he ends up being the kidnapper, and pretty much takes place in Las Vegas, and there's the elite hunting team there, and pretty much this guy named Scott and his friends Carter, Justin, and Mike, they pretty much are having this bachelor party in Vegas, and they're his friends are getting laid, but he realizes, he's like, I don't know if I should do that, because I guess in the past, I guess he cheated on his wife, so he can't do it again because he'll lose her. But they're just partying and drinking and stuff like that, and one by one they disappear. The first character that disappears is Mike, and it's a really gruesome scene where it's a lot more high tech in this movie. The rooms and the deaths, it's all done a little bit more high tech, because there's like scanners that scan tattoos, and there's like a mirror or a window, and there's people behind it with like tablets. Really messed up idea. They have like this little wheel with weapons on it, and they pick it's really messed up. And it made it a lot different, because instead of just having these people all around the world, you had these people in a group just watching it. It made it different. And it was, like I said, a lot more high tech. And I will say this, some death scenes are a little bit stupid, but some of them are pretty gruesome. Definitely the one death scene I thought was pretty, stupid was the one where this dude pretty much puts this liquid in this girl's mouth, and it's like makes the cockroaches, because he gets these big hissing cockroaches and puts them all over her, and they go in her mouth, and it's a gross idea, from the go in her mouth and stuff like that, but it was done with CGI. And being direct to video and having CGI usually isn't good. I'm not saying it always isn't good, but usually isn't good, and it wasn't in this situation. I mean, the cockroaches looked fake. They were just like all like millions of them going down her throat. Like a cool angle though, where you see out of her mouth and the cockroaches are going down her throat. Neat angle, but it was done in CGI, so it was kind of cartoony and stupid a little bit. The idea itself is gruesome and creepy and makes my skin crawl, but the execution just kind of ruined it. It looked like CGI cartoony stuff. But besides that, I would say the rest of the death scenes are pretty gruesome. This one guy, the jerk character, Mike, he pretty much gets his face cut off, and it's practical too. There's a little bit of CGI, but it's mostly practical. He gets his face cut off and pulled off, and it's really, really painful. And this other guy gets shot. He's like in this room tied up, and this girl with this weird mask on, there's mist everywhere. She walks around with like this with this bow and arrow, and she pretty much just like this crossbow. She shoots the crossbow at him like multiple times, and it's in his chest, in his private area, and it was definitely a kind of a painful death. I mean, especially when she shoots him down there. It was kind of a painful death. And I believe that's pretty much it. I mean, you got a guy getting shot by a shotgun, which was one of the guys from the beginning of the movie who got kidnapped. But besides, I think that's pretty much the rest of the death scenes. And then pretty much what you got is you got the lead character, Scott. He and his friends get captured, and while they're getting tortured, I think when they're done torturing his friends, he's up next, and he ends up escaping, and you find out that his friend Carter, played by Kip Pardue, and he's from Driven, Remember the Titans, The Rules of Attraction, and 13. Pretty much, you find out that his friend the character who plays Scott, his friend Carter, he's the guy who led them there to Las Vegas for the bachelor party, and you find that he's part of the elite hunting team, and you find that the reason that he did this is because because he wants Scott's wife, because Scott has her, and he's jealous, so he wants his wife, and he's gonna kill Scott, and he's gonna go back to his wife and help her, grieve, and then he wants her to fall in love with him, and it was kind of a lackluster idea. I was like, really, this whole you're killing all these people just so you can get this girl, and it was kind of like a lackluster idea. I was like, what? You're just gonna kill these people for a girl? I mean, but I get he's psycho, I get that, but it was kind of like lackluster. I was like, I don't really care about that idea, really. So it's decent, but there are a few problems. The score wasn't really much. The CGI kind of looked cartoony. And I could say there's like one annoying character. But besides that, though, I mean, they really did shoot it well. You had certain angles that were pretty cool. The death scenes were definitely gruesome. One that was kind of stupid, but the rest of them were pretty gruesome. And so the ideas they did to make this different, I thought was interesting because it was more of a high-tech movie, and it was trying to go a different route. It was trying to go a different way. And I understand that people don't like it. I know there's people that do like it, but in my opinion, I think this is a lot better than Hostel Part 2. I can watch this and enjoy this more than Hostel Part 2 because Part 2 is freaking garbage and it's boring and it's too concentrated on freaking copying the first movie. And if it's not copying the first movie, it freaking tries to make what made the first movie freaking creepy and ruin it. But Hostel Part 3, just the problems are very small. I mean, you do got bad CGI. The score was really not much. One annoying character, one stupid death. So I mean, I guess you could say altogether it was pretty decent because they had practical effects in it that were pretty decent. Not all the characters were annoying. There were likable characters. Acting was decent. Direction was decent. Good camera angles and stuff like that. But you find out that he wants his wife. That Carter wants Scott's wife, and then Scott gets free. You think he kills Carter, but he doesn't. And Scott's trying to escape. He kills the Travis character, and you find out this place is rigged to blow up soon. And you find out this dude, the leader of the group, is actually from Resident Evil Apocalypse. I think it's Thomas Christian. Yeah, he's from Resident Evil Apocalypse, Wanted, King Kong, and Downfall. But I remember him from Resident Evil Apocalypse playing the bad guy in that movie. He comes back in this movie, does a pretty decent job as the bad guy, and pretty much he's on his way to escape. And Carter, I guess him and Carter, they had some beef. They didn't like each other. I guess Carter was wondering why he got captured, and the guy's like, stuff happens, and because basically you found out that Carter got captured, he got knocked out. I guess he didn't like that because he was supposed to not get knocked out, and pretty much Carter kills the Fleming character, such as throat, I think, and then you think it's going to be a depressing ending where Carter gets in the car, drives off scot-free, looks back, Scott's back there, and pretty much the whole place blows up. And you think that Scott dies from the explosion because he's trying to climb up the fence and it explodes. And you think that Carter's gonna get off scot-free, goes back to the wife, and is comforting her and stuff like that, being fake. He's all like, "Oh well, I'm so sorry." I'm like, dude, he's basically being fake. Is that comforting her, knowing that he killed her husband, but he's comforting her, and then you find out Scott is still alive, and really twist ending, I guess you could say, but a twist sort of the positive side. You could say that, where pretty much, I guess they have their own torture chamber in their basement, and Scott and his girlfriend, they lock the Carter character up and they start torturing him, and that's the end of the movie. So I think altogether, it's pretty decent. I mean, some of the ideas were kind of, I don't know, they were kind of, I mean, some of them were good, but some of them were kind of eh. The whole idea of that guy wanting to be with Scott's wife, I didn't care for that story angle. It was shot well, though. It was directed decently. It was acted decently. It was casted decently. I mean, it still had some decent stuff about it, but I think it's a lot better than Hostel Part 2. And that's what I gotta say about Hostel Part 3. It's a pretty decent movie. But that's my thoughts, so I can get Hostel Part 1. Yeah. That's my thoughts on the Hostel franchise. Thanks for watching my reviews on these films. If they make another sequel, then I'll review that too. But that's the Hostel franchise. So thanks for watching the reviews on the Hostel franchise. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys on next review. Bye, guys.